Hey everybody, we are back and we're working again on this junk journal that I am making for a friend of mine's daughter. She just turned 16. So this is the cover we made last time. It was in the first video. I'll make sure to link that in the description on this video, so you'll be able to go back and watch it in case you missed it. But this is the cover. We only did the outside of the cover, so I haven't done the inside yet or anything like that. And so I mentioned in the last video for that we were going to work on the signatures next, and we are going to work on those. But I think what we're going to do today is we're going to work on making some pockets and some other like flip outs and stuff like that. And then probably in the next video, I'll actually assemble all the signatures, and then we'll have a better idea of like what we're working with as we're putting them all together. So just a few things that I have here that I put together. So I did dye some paper and envelopes in pink because that is going to be the overriding color of the journal. This is actually using RIT powder, which you can use for dyeing fabrics. So I went ahead and just put it into some water. I actually was able to put it into like lukewarm water. I didn't need to put it in like hot water like sometimes you have to do with coffee or tea dyeing. And I just left some of the papers in there for a couple of hours, and then I did I just kind of laid them out to air dry. I did try to do some stencil and things like that to get some impressions on them. I'm not great at that. I know there are so many people online who have videos on how to do it. Occasionally I get lucky and it like works out the way I want, but lots of times it doesn't. So so anyway, what I liked about these is that they're kind of all varying colors. Like obviously some were dyed longer, so they're darker, and some were, you know, dyed less time, so they're lighter, which I do really like. And so I dyed some, this is just regular printer paper. And then I also did dye some junk mail envelopes that I have just lying around. And I also dyed these CD envelopes that I had, or DVD envelopes that I had. And I've used these before to make books. I've done a whole bunch of stuff with these, and they're really fun to work with. So I thought that I would include them because they also make really good pockets. So there's a couple of things we can do with those. We'll probably use a couple of them today as we're working on our pockets. So that was the other thing I did. Don't throw away your junk mail envelopes. You can always use them for junk journals. So, and I'm going to do a video sometime soon on how I make like junk mail envelope folios. So I know lots of people, you like to see different ways you can repurpose different things. So I thought that I would show that for sure. And then I also went ahead and just separate these out a little bit so we have them all in the right place. All right, cool. Probably gonna use a couple of those. Let's see. All right. And we definitely will use some of that paper. And then I did also bring over some books. I'm probably going to tear some pages out of these books to include in her book. She is a huge musical person and movie person. So I had this book that I had gotten at an estate sale, and I thought that I might go ahead and pull some pages out of this as well for her signatures. So again, that might be in the next video, but I did want to pull them so I'd have them. And then let me show you a few other things that I pulled as well, so that we'll have those with us too, which are probably going to be a little bit more useful for the pockets and things we're going to make today. So, oh, let me move that little needle there. I'm not sure if I'm going to sew any signatures or not, but I figured might as well grab everything just in case. This is my Cutterpillar. This is my preferred cutting system. I got this about I think maybe 2 years ago now. Maybe it was last year. I don't remember 100%, but I got it at the Stampin' Scrapbook Expo. If you're in Central Florida, Stampin' Scrapbook Expo is coming next month. It's April 2025. It's coming right at the beginning of the month. So like I think it starts on April 2nd or 3rd, I think. So if you haven't gotten tickets yet and you want to go, make sure you get some tickets. So I also have some cardstock. This is just some plain cardstock. And I have some of this. I got this 8.5 by 11 book off of the Zon, I believe. And I liked it because it was all pinks. And I thought that this would be good. It's almost like, it says it's scrapbook paper, but it actually kind of almost feels like wrapping paper. So the feel of it is a little different than what I would like, but it's going to work fine for what we're doing with it today. And I also brought over some pink envelopes. These are actually envelopes that were just actually pink, like they're stationary envelopes. And then I brought over some coin envelopes. I did bring over this really great selection of doilies. I got this from a seller on Whatnot called Plus Size Gals. I'll try to include her information in the bottom as well. And then let me see, I'm just trying to pull out a few other things that I brought over here for us to play with today. Oh yeah, I brought over these. So these were in a Crafter's Companion kit. They store their stuff inside them when you get like one of their monthly kits, I think. And they're such nice bags, so I went ahead and pulled those. And then I did also have some embossed paper I had gotten before. And I also have some paper flowers that we're going to use. And then I have a whole bunch of other pages from books and things like that that we'll use to embellish things with as well. I also brought over, of course, my handy dandy corner punch and all those kinds of things. So we have a lot of things to embellish with. We have a lot of things to play around with. We've got a lot of stuff we can play with. And then the other thing is I did also make a junk journal digital kit for this book. So I went ahead and used the information that her mom shared with me about the things that she really liked. And then I went ahead and made a digital kit using images from Creative Fabrica. So this is actually 2 printouts of it together. So let me just go ahead and I'll just separate it real fast here. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So basically what I did was I found some images and I used some images that I've already used before. And I went ahead and I did a lot of it in pinks and greens because that's, those are her favorite colors. So I wanted to make sure I had those. And then also included a few things that she really loves so that, again, I would have those as well. The theme of her 16th birthday was, well, it was kind of, not the theme, but one of the things they did at the party was have like a little candy bar. So I included some like candy and dessert things as well because I thought that would be really fun to kind of relate back to. So I think these are the non-duplicated pages. So basically what I did was I went ahead and I did the backgrounds here. So these are some things I'd had previously. And then when I went ahead and added like these flowers and I added like the present down here and things like that. I found this really cool 16 with the castle on Creative Fabrica. And then I added the balloons to the back and I added like the bow. This is a scanned ledger page on the background that I had scanned from a ledger that I got at an estate sale. And so then I just have been using that as a background. And here's another example. This is some scanned wallpaper on the left-hand side here, scanned ledger. I pulled this heart actually out of Canva. This is what I designed in, was Canva. And then just recolored it. She plays in band, so I found this really cute little band uniform, SVG, and I just recolored it. And then I put these little music notes coming out of the top, which I thought was kind of fun, and added just these really pretty flowers. Again, the candy theme with like the macaron and the cake pops and stuff. I thought that would be cool. She plays tuba in band, so that's why there's a tuba on here. And so we just kind of, went ahead, and then I have this really, beautiful young woman there. And then these pages are just for her to like write down some ideas and thoughts in. So the idea basically is that you would take these pages and you could just go ahead and fold them in half. And we're going to measure our book today so we know exactly how big we're going to make our signature, or how big our pages should be. I'm going to trim off these edges as well. I had these printed at Staples. So Staples does like professional print, I think is what the category is on their website. And you can get it printed kind of on like a cardstock. This is like 65 pound, I believe, so it's not super heavy. And it is really nice quality for this type of thing. So it holds up really well. And then here's one with just a cake on it. Here's one that I had some, I included some like ephemera that you could go ahead and kind of like cut out, a little bit. I made this little heart here with the 2 base symbols, base clef symbols. And then here's just another page and then some more cutouts for that. So it's, I think it was 14 or 14 pages maybe. And then like, gosh, I don't know. I want to say like 2 or 3 pages of ephemera to cut out, or like tags and stuff, something like that. So we'll be using some of those pages today as well. And then I also found this. She's a huge Taylor Swift fan. I found this on sale at Marshall's or TJ Maxx. And so I thought I'd pull this out as well, and we could go ahead and use some of these images and things like that for different parts of her book as well. So the first thing I want to do is I want to do a cool fold out with a pocket. So here's how we're going to do that. And I'm going to show you the pocket. The pocket's actually going to be a hidden pocket. So first, let's measure our book and determine how big our things are going to be. Our pages are going to be. Hold on one sec. Oh, I had my ruler. Oh, here it is. Okay. I was like, geesh, where did my ruler go? Okay. So if we open our book here, make sure you guys can see me. All right. So let's open the book. Oops, there we go. Oopsies. I'm just knocking all kinds of stuff over. Okay. Ooh, Lord. Okay. So the cover itself, if we measure from the actual spine, which is this section right here, is about 6 1/4 inches. If you guys can see that, 6 1/4 inches, right? And then down this way, it's about 8. Okay. So because we want this to be not flush to the edge, I think what we're going to do is we're going to say that our pages are going to be 5 3/4 by 7 1/2. So we're going to write that number down. 5 3/4 by 7 1/2. Let me see if I can find a good, like, you think I'd have a scrap piece of paper just hanging out, wouldn't you? All right, here we go. I'll write it on this. So 5 3/4 by 7 1/2. All right, so those will be the size of my pages. So if we double that, that means it's going to be 11.25 by 7 1/2 inches. So basically, we're going to do 8 1/2 by 11 paper, and we're just going to cut an inch off of it. So it's going to end up being about 11 by 7 1/2 is actually what's going to end up being. Yeah. So if we fold this way, it works out pretty good. Yeah, so that's what we'll do. That way we don't have to worry about doing the extra thing. So we'll do 11 by 7 1/2. So all of our papers will get an inch cut off, and then we will fold those in half. And once you sew them in and you close the book, like, it will change, you know, it'll move things a little bit. So it won't be like, you won't feel like it's such a, it's so short. Like, it will all make sense once it goes in there. So absolutely. If you wanted it to be a little bit more like, if you felt like it would line up better, then you could also just make sure that your covers are 5 1/2 inches, no bigger than 5 1/2 inches. So since mine started at 5 3/4, it just made it a little bit bigger than that. But we could have cut the cover down by like an extra 1/4 inch on every side, and it might have lined up like a little bit better. But I honestly think once you see it all put together, it's not gonna phase you. Let me put it to you that way. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna cut some pages down, and we're gonna cut them down to the right width. So we need this side, the shorter side here, to be 7 1/2 instead of 8 1/2. So the Cutter-Pillar, one of the cool things about the Cutter-Pillar is the lighting. And the other cool thing, okay, so if we look at this here and we measure it from the silver, okay, so measuring from here, it's 8 1/2. So that means we want it to be 7 1/2, and that's going to cut off an inch, right? So we're going to line it up at 7 1/2. I just cut that inch off. You can definitely keep this. You could definitely use it for something else. We're going to cut like probably the whole stack of these here. I think I have like 5 or 6 of them. And the reason I'm using this cardstock is because I want to use it because I do want these pockets to be somewhat sturdy, because we are going to like store things in them. We're going to slide things into them. We're going to add extra paper on top of them. And so we want to make sure that they are up to snuff when we do all those extra things. So that's why we've got to make sure that I'm going to use cardstock instead of just like regular printer paper. You could also use regular printer paper. It probably would end up being fine because you are going to add a lot of stuff to it. But since I had this with me and I wanted to use it, so I thought that I would. All right, cool. All right, awesome. Now, I also want to cut down a few things so that we can use them as cover for the white paper. So the paper's not just white. So let's go like that. Just gonna trim off these ends real quick, and then we will cut it to it as 7 1/2. I'm not the greatest cutter, I'll be honest with you. So sometimes it's not the straightest. All right, now this has our decoration at the bottom, so we'll want to make sure we cut off this top part so that we don't lose a lot of the decoration. So we're going to cut the inch off this side, and we're going to measure it up to be 7 1/2 inches. So we got that one, which will fit, and then let's see which other ones we can do here. Let's do this one and this one. All right, so we'll do this one and this one. So again, we're just gonna trim these sides off. If you do want to do it so it has no, it has a full bleed, so that would mean it goes all the way to the edge of the paper. You can order that via Staples, but you have to send away for it and they have to mail it back to you. If you do it like this, you can just order it at like your local Staples Print Center and just go pick it up. And lots of times if I order it before if I place the order before noon, it's ready like same day. And since I'm normally running a little behind, that's helpful for me. So, all right, and then we're gonna do 7.5 to make sure this is also the right size. And then we'll do it one more time for this guy, and then we will be ready to move forward with adhering some of these buddies to our cut paper. And I'll also show you how we're gonna make it into a pocket. All right. I definitely want to know how you guys are going to use these if you're going to make journals and stuff. So make sure you tell me in the comments if there's journals and stuff that you're going to make using some of these techniques, or if you're just interested in like doing it, like whatever, you know, whatever brought you here. I'd love to know. That would be so cool. So I'm going to do, since this one has the image and it's a little bit above and we have enough room, I'm going to do a 1/2 inch off both sides on this one. So we're not just losing it off one side completely. So there we go. All right, cool. All right, so now that is also cut to the right size. Just move those out of the way. Pick up after myself or it's gonna be a mess. All right, awesome. And then let me see, let me take just a couple of the pink pages that I dyed and we'll cut a few of those as well, just to get them, just to have them. Okay, awesome. All right, cool. All right, let's go ahead. So the next thing we're gonna do, all right, so we're gonna take, so basically what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna use this one piece of paper, and this is gonna be a page in the book, right? So now you could score these pages. I'm not big on scoring things. I mean, I don't mind it, I do it. And when I've made other books before, I've done it in the past. You could also use your bone folder to get a really good crease down here. I'm not gonna worry too much about it today. So here's our one page here, okay? All right, cool. Now, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and let's make sure this is gonna line up. Yep, it is, okay. And we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna fold that so we can go ahead and get these adhered to the front of the page. All right. All right. Now, we know that not all cutters are created equal, so it's possible that you are gonna have issues with things matching up. So for example, all right, so because I cut I trimmed off the edges of these pages that I had printed, they're not gonna match completely on the edges, right? And that's okay, we're actually gonna use trim on these edges, so it's gonna be fine, it's not gonna be a problem. But I just wanted you to know that like, I totally get when, you know, stuff like that gets kind of, you know, messed up and everything, and it can be annoying. For today, I'm going to use my art glitter glue. I prefer to use art glitter glue when I'm working with paper. Make sure you get the stuff that dries clear. I don't understand art glitter glue that dries white. It makes no sense to me. All right, and you can get a finer tip for the art glitter glue if you want. I do have one, but it's clogged at the moment, so we're just gonna go ahead and use the regular tip and not worry too much about it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm actually gonna just line up the two creases here where they meet in the middle in order to get it to go straight, glue on here straight. Okay. So, and then we'll just add some more to the back side here. Okay. Okay, there we go. And then we'll just go ahead and get that glued down. I'm doing these first just so that we can get them glued into place so that they will dry a little bit, because we do want them to dry a bit for us to work with them. It just makes it a little easier to work with them. All right, so that is this page. All right, and then on the inside cover, we're actually gonna use one of these. Well, let's see, actually, I think we might use one of these pieces of paper. This is some paper that I got from a kit, I think. And the colors matched really well. So I was decided, actually, you know what? We're not gonna do that. We're gonna use some of our pink paper that I just cut, because this is gonna get pretty heavy pretty fast. So let me use the pink papers that we just cut down, and we'll put those in here instead. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, yep, we'll do that. So go ahead and do that on here. Okay, go. Okay. And having things be straight, not always my strong suit. So if you are similar in that way, I feel your pain. I know it's annoying when things don't line up the way you want. And it can be frustrating because you're working on something, but it's okay. Nothing is unfixable, in my opinion. There's very few things that are unfixable. Mostly things that are directional. That's the stuff that you really got to be careful about. Things that go in one direction, that's the only time I've really ever been bit in the booty, because I put something in the wrong, it was a directional thing and I put it on the wrong way. So it became not correct. Okay. Alrighty. All right, cool. So I'm gonna let this dry as well. All right, so that's one page, okay? And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna use some, let me see here, do I wanna use this, or actually, let's use one of these this time. So this is just scrapbook paper. It's regular actual paper, and it's not double-sided, so it's perfect for an application like this, I think. So what we're gonna do, all right, so if our pages are 7.5 by 11, so they're 5.5 by 7.5. We're gonna make this one a little bit smaller than that. We wanna make it a little shorter than that. So we're gonna make it, let's see. And because this is directional, let's make sure we cut the 1 inch off on this side. All right. So I'm gonna do it to 11 here. Make sure we're straight. It is the hardest thing, honestly, about cutting, is making sure everything is straight. All right, so we got that, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do this to, actually, no, wait. All right, we wanna do 7.5, okay. And do it so that it is at 4.5, right? Yeah, okay, so we're gonna do it 4.5. So the length is the same, it's just a little bit shorter, or at least it should be. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Okay, it's gotta be a little bit shorter, so we're gonna cut a little bit off the top. So we're gonna do another inch off the top here. So this is 7.5, so we're gonna get down to 6.5. All right. Actually, I don't wanna do that. I wanna do it the whole width of this. So this is the other reason I don't measure, you guys. Let me see. Right now, okay. So do this width. We're gonna do it. Okay. All right. So let's see what this width ends up being. Oops. All right. So that's at like 5.5. Okay, and then we're gonna take another inch off of this to 6.5. Okay, that's what we want. Okay, cool. All right, so the reason I did that is because I wanted it to be a whole, I wanted the pocket to be the size of this piece of paper. That was the page itself. Oops, that's upside down. Okay, we're gonna trim off just a little bit more on this side so that it really is underneath. Okay, got a little extra on there. Yeah, because I want it to be the whole width of this, so that the pocket is totally the width and it comes down from the top. All right, so then to create the pocket, we just are going to glue on 3 sides. And actually for the pocket, what I'm gonna do, because glue can seep and make problems, we're actually gonna use some red line tape. So, standing up the right way. So red line tape is actually great for making books. It's very similar to score tape. Score tape though, you can actually cut, or you can actually tear it just with your hands when you're using it. For red line tape, you actually have to cut it because the red plastic on the back is very strong, and so you can't just tear the plastic, which is kind of a bummer, but unfortunately, that's the only reason why I don't use it a ton. But I did get some the other day from a D-stash, and I thought, well, I might as well use it for this. I like using it for pockets, like I said, because liquid glue can seep a little bit when you press it down and everything, and so you could have problems with part of your pocket getting glued down that you didn't want to be glued down, as opposed to the red line tape or score tape where that won't happen. So it's also, the red backing is also super staticky, so it will stick to everything. And that's a little annoying, but yeah. So we're just gonna line this up down here on the bottom. Okay. And we are a little over, and that's okay. I'm just gonna trim that. It's actually not over that much. It's over just a little tiny bit. So just gonna trim that down. And I would expect that margin of error for something like this to not be exactly right, but we're gonna cover these edges with stuff anyway, so it's gonna work out. So now we have a pocket here, and this is a pretty big pocket, so we can actually put a pretty big tag in here. In fact, I might put one of the tags in that I made as part of the digital kit into this pocket. Let me see if I can find one. Here we go. So like that tag we could stick in there for sure. I probably will back this tag on some cardstock of some type to give it a little extra oomph. Like I said, I do my designs in Canva. So that's where this came from. Let me just clean off my scissors really fast because that's gonna drive me crazy. There we go. It's got some sticky on it. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, so, okay. All right, cool. And then let's see, I actually have a piece of the cover for a 12 by 12 here. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually use that to make the back of this, to cover this tag back here. And that'll work out really well actually. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna use some Fabrifix on this for no other reason than just because I felt like it. Although I have noticed that the art glitter glue is kind of creating like, you know, lines in some of the thinner papers, and like you can see the glue lines underneath. So the Fabrifix doesn't typically do that with paper, so I don't exactly know why that's happening a lot, but for right now, we'll see if we can kind of nip that in the bud by using this on the tag base instead. And then if you watched my haul video the other day, you saw that I got some really cool pink ribbon from an thrift store that I went to. So we can definitely put some ribbon on this, and I will do some more to the back of this tag. It won't be done, but this way we can just kind of demonstrate and remember where that pocket is. And you know, it'll give us an idea of like where it lives, so we won't soon forget. All right, so go ahead and stick that in there. Okay, alrighty, this is some of that ribbon I got. All right, so now we have this page here that'll be part of the signature, and we have a tag to stick in that pocket as well. So now we have that in there. So when we close it, you'll be able to see obviously this, and that'll be true when you close it into the journal as well. You'll be able to see some of that sticking out. Now let's also do some of the trim here on the sides of this because we do want to cover that. So I found this amazing, actually I think someone sent this to me. I think it was part of a D-stash. I found this amazing trim the other day. I love it. I love how like furry it is. I think it's great. So we're actually going to use some of that on the front here, and we're going to put it on this side. So we can kind of cover up some of that there. And then on the inside, or on the other side, we're going to use a smaller one just because we don't want there to be too much competing on both sides of this page. The thing you'll find when you're making a junk journal, if you've never made one before or have made one, or only made like one or two, or, you know, it's just something new that you're working on, is that the more, you'll want to embellish this a lot because that's obviously the most fun part. But you will also discover that, embellishing everything makes your book really thick. Now, I don't necessarily mind that so much. I think it makes it fun. Some people, though, really want the book to like close like a book. They want it to look like a book. Like they're very adamant kind of about some of those things, you know? So you kind of just have to decide where your loyalties lie. You know, do you want it to like, you know, do you want your book to be closed? Do you want it to close like, I mean, it's probably never going to close like this except for when the cover is empty. Or do you care if it closes like this or it looks like a little bit more like this? Because there's so much in it, you know what I mean? So you kind of have to just decide how you're gonna, what side of that you're gonna come down on. All right, awesome. All right, so that guy is done. And then we will do some more on this side, but like I said, I'm gonna use something that's not quite as thick. And actually, I think I'm just gonna use some lace that I have here. It's a pretty thin lace. But like I said, it will help it from kind of looking too, and actually what I think we'll do to kind of take away some of that white is we're going to go ahead and ink that edge. So I have some pink ink here, and where is my inker? I just went and got one. Oh, here it is. Okay. So I do have some pink inks. These are from Alt New, which has amazing ink. There's so many different companies we can get ink from. Like it's really crazy. So, I mean, honestly, whatever ink you have is more than acceptable. I might have some Tim Holtz ink, pink ink as well. I honestly don't know. I probably do somewhere. But you know, you never know. So these, I've never used these ones on this, something like this before. So let's see what we can do here. All right, let's see. Yeah. So we're just going to take some of that white off since we are going to cover it with something that's kind of see-through with the lace. And that'll just help it not look quite as stark underneath. You could also do this with brown or, you know, a vintage photo or whatever, if that's what you prefer to do. I normally do things with vintage photo when I'm junk journaling. But again, you know, this is very specific junk journal for a very specific young lady. And so, you know, she likes the pinks. And so we're going to keep the theme going. And I'm going to ink both sides here. And I'll ink along the edges just to give it. It's really interesting how much it adds something. You don't really think it will until you do it, and then until you don't do it. And you'll be surprised how much it adds to what you're working on. It's kind of shocking, actually. And I probably will ink the tag as well. Once I pull the tag back out to work on, we'll probably do that in a different video. So, and I can ink the spine here and the front edges just to, again, continue up this, you know, look and feel. There we go. Okay. So let me go ahead now and cover that with some lace on the back. I am going to flip it so that the lace, the scalloped edge of the lace is against the edge there so that you can see that delicate detail and it doesn't get lost on the paper. Okay. So I'll go ahead and do that, and we'll just kind of press that down and let it kind of sit for a few minutes on its own. And the good news is you can always go back and add more glue if you need to, if it decides it's going to pop up on you or do something weird. It's not a problem. But yeah, you can always go back and add more glue. Fabrifix, though, normally works pretty well. So that's one pocket we're going to do, and that's kind of a whole page. It's not a whole page pocket, but it's a one side pocket for sure. So that's kind of one that I want to include in the book. And then I want to work on a couple other pockets. So the next thing, we're going to take one of our pieces of cardstock again that we cut down. Okay. And this time we are going to use a page from the book, this book of paper that I got. And let's see, we're going to cover a lot of it, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like, to be totally honest with you. So let's we'll do this one. All right, and we will do on the other side, we'll do this one. Now you can see some of the images in this are not what I would call like the crisp images. So, you know, kind of have to, you know, obviously, even though I bought it on Amazon, it probably came from another country, and so, you know, might not have been best. Oh, gosh. But I didn't have a lot of pink scrapbook paper, and so I really wanted to make sure that I had enough when I was working on this. So let me go here. Alrighty, and we'll do the 7.5. These are thin enough that I should be able to cut them both at the same time. All right, that gets that edge off. Okay, now go ahead and put this one on the outside there. So go ahead and just do that up. I'm gonna use our glitter glue again. I know there are other folks online too who do great stuff explaining different things like different glues and all that. So definitely if you have questions about that, you know, you can ask me and I will try to find the answer for you, but I know that there are other folks who also do a lot regarding glues and mediums, and so you know, definitely feel free. Some of the folks that I follow for junk journaling are Treasure Books and Miss Paint a Lot. I'll link to them in the in my description. I also follow Seven Plaza. I follow, let's see, who are some other folks? I'm forgetting names now, but there's like a ton of them. But those are the ones I can remember off the top of my head. So, so yeah, so definitely, you know, don't hesitate to find other people who, you know, are doing things you want, or, you know, Google something in, you know, specific that you want to learn. And I'm sure, you know, you can find folks with different videos that do all kinds of cool things. So definitely want to check those out. Alrighty, so we're just going to do this on the side. Okay. Oops. Got a little bit of a wrinkle there. Let's see if we can pull that up so there's no bubble in it. Come on. That is the one problem with not great paper, is that it will not forgive you for mistakes very easily. So, all right. But again, as we discussed in the last video, if you guys remember, I don't think handmade things should be perfect. I really don't. I think it kind of takes away from the idea that it's handmade. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't think they should be sloppy, don't get me wrong, and I don't think that they should be wrong, but I don't think that they need to necessarily be perfect 100% of the time. I really feel that they should have, I feel that the handmade portion of it gives it character and also makes it different. So in my opinion, like, that's kind of what, you know, the most important things are, right? All right, so now we are going to cover most of this too with paper, so it's really not going to matter all that much. So we're going to pull out the Taylor Swift book and we're going to see if we can find something, and we're going to use that as our pockets for today. And then I'm also going to do something else really cool with the actual insert for the pocket. So let me see here. I am not a huge Swiftie. I like Taylor just fine. I have no problem with Taylor, but I did not grow up listening to her music. So I think it's awesome, all the things that she's done. But I'm not an expert by any stretch. So, let's see. Okay, here we go. Here's something that's kind of pink. Let's do these. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. I could really gut the book and like take the whole thing apart and everything, by the signatures and all that. But for right now, I'm not gonna worry about it that much. All right, so let's see. Because I know there's overhang, and so the rough edges, it's gonna be easy for us to cut them out, or to get them like kind of like out of the way, basically. Okay. So let me see here. Let's see. We're gonna want to make sure that we have the, do it on this side just because it'll be easier to see the edge. All right, so I'm gonna mark this so we can figure out where we're gonna cut so we make it the right size. Shoot, where'd that pen go? want to use the Sharpie, but okay. So it looks like we're going to cut about 1/4 of an inch off each, maybe that's a 1/2 inch, I'm not 100% sure, on either side to make it match. All right, and we'll do the same thing on this one. Let's see. This one might be a little bit different because, yeah, there we go. It's a little bit, okay. All right, so let's grab our cutter. I'm gonna make sure to turn the light on because that will help us see this mark through the paper. There we go. Okay, so cut that, and we're gonna cut this one. Okay. And then I'm gonna do the same thing over here. So cut through this mark, and we wanna make it as straight as possible, of course. Let's move that a little bit. There we go. Okay. All right. And obviously I'm not selling this book, so, you know, using the images from a different book is not going to be a problem. Now the other trick's going to be how tall do we want these ones. So these covers, these pockets are probably going to be way shorter than the other ones that I just did, but we do want to still get some of the message in here. So maybe we will, let's see here, is that going to fit? I'm gonna need to cut it some more. I guess I'm gonna need to cut it some more. Okay, probably another like 1/4 minute. Okay. So let's see, because if we do them the whole way, it's gonna be as big as the page. I don't know if I want to do more of those. Let's see if this one is the right size. Hold on. The easiest way to do it is honestly just to close it in here and see if it pops out on the end. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna cut a little bit more off the sides. Alrighty, so we're gonna do 5.5. All right, we're actually gonna do it down to 5.25, I think. Let's just make it that way. Okay, there we go. All right, just to be on the safe side. All right, and then we're gonna cut some off the bottom since I don't want to cut off too much of Tay-Tay's head there. All right, and we'll just use that as a marker for how much of this we're gonna cut off. Crooked now. Of course it is. Of course it is. All right. Here, we'll do it to 6.5. There we go. All right. Okay. All right. So, yeah, these will work now for sure. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So, oops. I think that's upside down. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Wait. Okay, this is right. Okay, there we go. All right, and what I'm gonna do, I think, is push it to the edge of this side of the page, so it comes all the way out here, and there's less bulk in the middle, because actually that's where I'm gonna sew the signatures into, so it'll help if there's a little less in the crease there. Let me also crease this. You can also crease, of course, with like the top of a pair of scissors. Like, it doesn't have to be an actual bone ruler. You can use whatever you got. Okay, yeah, and then we'll do the same thing for this one. Alrighty. All right, and I'm gonna use the red tape again. basically when you're doing pockets, the thing you want to be the most cognizant of is making sure that you get it as close to the edge as possible of your pocket so that you have as much room as you want in your pocket. And then you just want to make sure that you cover your bottom as much as possible. So that just in case you stick something in there that's a little bit smaller, it doesn't fall through the bottom. Those are kind of the most important pieces of making a pocket. And you can of course use liquid glue. It's totally up to you. I just find that I prefer to do it with tape, just because you don't want the glue seeping out and stuff like that. So, all right, so we're gonna line up this corner. I'm gonna line up this edge. Okay. The only problem with tape is that it is very unforgiving. So if you put it down wrong, it's wrong. All right, so we got that one, and then we'll do the same thing on this one. Okay, and again, we're gonna line up here and here. Okay. Lots of times with liquid glue, you do have a little bit more ability to make a mistake, because the liquid glue doesn't set right away, and so you have enough time to move things around. But unfortunately, with tape, it's a one and done type of stick. So it is something to keep in mind as well if you you know, have a tendency to over glue or glue too quick, or maybe consider that when you're making stuff and whether or not you want to use tape or a liquid adhesive. You could also use foam tape if you wanted to have a little bit of depth to the pocket. It would be up to you whether you wanted to do that. It would again add more bulk to your book. But it's definitely something to think about if you wanted the space, if you wanted to put something thick in there. It would be worth it for that reason. Foam tape though things can get stuck to it on the sides because it is technically sticky on the sides of itself. So just keep that in mind too when you're looking to do it that way, that you can get things stuck on foam tape. It's why it doesn't always work great for shaker cards, because the shaker bits can get stuck to the foam tape on the inside. So, all right, cool. So we got that, and we got these two pockets now on the inside. And so again, these are pretty tall pockets. We'll be able to put pretty much anything in them that we want to put in. So that's another page with pockets in it. We'll do more to embellish that at a later date. And then I'm going to show you guys how to do a flip out. And we're going to use some envelopes for the flip out. So we'll go ahead and use another piece of our cardstock. This is when having a scoreboard would be real handy, but we don't actually need it, especially if we use envelopes, because the envelopes already have a score in them, which is the flap right here. So what we're gonna do, and the thing is too, what you want to do when you're doing flip outs like this, especially if you're using envelopes or you're using you are using a scored bit like this, like a quarter inch or half inch of paper to like make the hinge, you want to do your flip outs first so that you can cover these types of things with other papers when you cover the paper. So it makes a lot of sense to do it this way. Just FYI, so that's something to consider. So this one would flip out this way. And then the other question is, do we want to do like a flip out, like flip up, flip down, which we could do with like an envelope like this one. Just got to fold the top down. Let's see if we can get that to fold straight. They are kind of creased, but kind of not. So the cool thing is that these envelopes are like the right size too, which is really fun. So what we can do is, we could put it together like this. So you would have a flip out and then a flip up. And we could also do a flip down from the bottom as well. So let's see what we get if we do that. So if we just take it off the page right now, so we would do it like this and then like this. Right? And we'd want to line them up. So we would do it so they were lined up correctly. Okay, like that, right? So you would, it would be flipped like this. You would flip it open, and then you would flip this open, and then you would flip this open. So you could do something like that. We could also do one of the pockets here. These is that obviously these pockets are a little bit bigger. The thing I like about these pockets is that they have the see-through in the front, so you can put something really cool on the inside. So let me think about, these might be too wide for the pages we're using. Let me see really fast. Hold on. Or maybe they're going to be okay. Just fold this in half really quick. Oop, boop, 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 boop. Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah, so these aren't too wide for that, so that's good. Let's see, do I want to do that or not? I don't know. These are fun, like I said, because I think they're so cool because they have the see-through middle, right? Okay, cool. So let's go ahead. Oop, that guy dropped off the thing that just fell. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're gonna go ahead. I think for right now, we're gonna do this one that we initially showed, and then we'll work on doing the other one because I think the other one could be fun. But I want to think about it some more. Okay, so now the other thing to keep in mind is that technically these don't need to be envelopes that we're doing here with these flip. Like you can put a hinge into anything, and because unless I'm going to put something in this pocket, it doesn't need to be a pocket. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm going to move this right to the edge so it's easy to line up with the other one when we're doing it. All right, let's do that. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead, put that down. Okay. Okay. And we'll do the same thing on this pocket. I always feel it like when there is a pocket, I have to fill it. So that's the other thing to keep in mind too. If you're like me and you're like, oh no, there's a pocket there, I have to fill the pocket, then, you know, something to keep in mind as far as using an envelope pocket or not. You might want to make it easier on yourself and not worry about it so much. All right, so I just want to make sure that these are lined up. So that's why I'm doing it that way. And we'll take the extra off there. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to go ahead and use this really cool piece of embossed paper that I got not too long ago from someone on Whatnot. I think I got that from Creative Curiosities on Whatnot. It's Creative with a K. She's awesome and she makes all kinds of cool things, and she does do a lot of embossed papers. So I got this from her, and I'll go ahead and just trim off the top part here. I'm trying to get more into embossing. I finally figured out how to do it on my Cricut, or not Cricut, sorry, on my Sizzix. It took me forever. Like it took me forever to figure the sandwich out. I'm also going to ink this really fast. So let me go ahead and ink the edges of this. Sometimes it's good to ink the edges of things before they go on. Sometimes it doesn't matter. It really depends, honestly. I think maybe for this, it's just a better idea to do it before I put it on there, just in case it kind of creates problems. The other cool thing about embossed papers is you can ink the whole page and the ink will only stick on the embossed parts because the paper isn't all the same level. So it kind of makes it cool. You can make really cool embossed pieces. All right, so let's see here. Do I want to do this part? Let's see. Now it does have a hole here because this is meant for like a sentiment or something, but we'll go ahead and cover that with something else when we're putting the embellishments on everything. So, all right, let's go ahead and look at this real quick. Alrighty, let's see. Where is my, oh yeah, you keep losing all of my writing utensils, you guys. This is so annoying. Why do they keep going away? Oh, here's a pen. Haha, I found one. Found ya. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so we'll do it there and here. Okay. Alrighty. Alright, actually let me re-ink that spot, obviously, because now we cut off the top. And the other side. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead. Let's see, do I want it this way? I think we're gonna do it. Well, let's see, wait. If this is the edge, okay, so it's gonna come out like that. So do we want it to be this way or this way? I guess we'll do it that way. Okay. The other good thing too about Fabrifix is, like we showed last time, is that you can really just get rid of it as much as you want by just, you know, letting it dry a little bit and then just kind of rubbing it all together to make it go away. So it does work well for that reason as too. Okay. So even if it seeps out the sides, it's okay. Alrighty. All right, and then get that piece off of there. Got a little extra glue there on the side. Get rid of that. Okay, and then we'll put a little bit of glue here. Okay. And we're gonna go ahead and butt it up to there, get it to the crease, flip it over, and then close that ink. Okay. Press this down. Get all the extra seepage out. There's a little extra bit here on the side, so I'm just gonna cut that off real quick. This is the embossed piece on the top. So I'm just trimming that down a little bit. There we go. Again, we can just keep re-inking that edge so that it looks intentional. All right, cool. And then it's got a little bit of glue on it. Come on there, a little glue booger. Okay. All right, so now we have our down, up, and then in, right? Okay. All right, and our flip out. So now we gotta figure out what we're gonna cover these pages with. And I think what we'll do again is we're gonna use one of our, oh, actually, let's see. Do I have another piece that I already cut? I think I do. Of course, if I know where it is another question entirely. Let's see. All right, maybe we'll use one of these bad boys instead. And actually, I think what we'll do is we'll push this out to the edge. Actually, no, wait, we'll push it to this edge, and then we can cover up this side with some more trim again. So that'll make more sense. So let's see where the crease is here. Try to get that as even as possible. Alrighty. Just gonna line up pages here. Here we go. Okay. Pick it up, make sure it looks like it's all lined up correctly. Okay, looks pretty good there. Okay, now because this is the Fabri-Tac, it's not gonna dry as quick. So let's see here. I gotta get this to come all the way in. Okay. Oof. All right, and then go ahead and we'll get some more Fabri-Tac on this side to glue. Alrighty. Okay. Okay. We'll pull that up. So that's the in page, and then when it's folded over, it'll look like it'll have this on the inside, right? So now we gotta decide what we want to put on this side to cover everything. And I think actually on this side we will use one of our pieces that we dyed. So let's see here. I think it's this one that is cut to the right size. Yes, it is. Okay, great. All right. Just go ahead and fold this in real quick. Place I love using dyed papers. It's one of my favorite things. I love the crinkly sound they make when you dye them, or after they've dried. It's like one of my favorite things. So I was really excited to dye the papers, and I really wanted to try the RIT fabric dye, the RIT dye. So that's why, one of the reasons why I did it, I got it for this. It wasn't that expensive. Like the little box of powder was like, I think it was like $1 or something, like at Walmart. So it wasn't that bad. And it worked, you know, it ended up working out really well. And I have so much of it left because I barely used like a quarter of it, what was in the package, to dye the papers I dyed already. So, and I honestly probably could have saved that water that I dyed these in and dyed more because it was not, you know, there was no fade to the color at all. So now when we look at this page from the outside and we're looking at it in the signature, we'll open it and we'll see the macaron and everything in there. And then we'll see this beautiful little embossed piece. And then we'll flip that out and we'll see something here and then there and then there. So the cool thing is we'll probably end up putting something really neat on those pages to show that. And I have a couple of things that we might be able to use. Let me see. I took apart a book today that had a whole bunch of really cool stuff in it. And it had some of these really cute cards with like different words and phrases on them, and they might just be the exact right size, maybe a little bit too wide, but we might still be able to make them work for like this kind of thing here. So we might be able to use these, or we might be able to use, they had another thing too that was kind of similar. These are smaller, but they'd be cool because we could actually like, we could, what do you call it? Like center them and put other things around them to make them look cool. So let's see what we can find here. This is really cool. Like, isn't that sweet? I love that image. But then we also do have these ones, which are really neat as well. And these on the back side have just images or like designs. So we could, you know, even if you didn't want to use the side that had the picture on it, you could definitely use the side that had an image on it, you know? Let's see, I do have more of these, so we don't have to just use these ones. This was like a self-help book that a friend of mine got me, and I never did it. And then the other day I was going through my room and I was looking at things because I was looking at stuff to donate because I needed the space. And I looked at this book and I was like, oh wait, this book is really cool. Like I hadn't really looked at it well, you know, like good enough. So I was like, wait a second. So today I took it apart to work on this. All right, let me see. I really like this one, which says, be silly, be honest, be kind. I like that a lot. And this one we definitely, so this is almost exactly the right height. So that's awesome. We can just go ahead. Actually, what we could do is we could fussy cut this and cut along these edges here. It kind of looks like a soup can, which is kind of fun. Let me see if I can find my scissors really fast, and we can cut along the edges of this and have a good time. We could also use Rapunzel. Actually, maybe Rapunzel. She really likes Rapunzel. It's her favorite Disney princess. So maybe what we'll do is we'll put Rapunzel in the middle here. Because this is actually a nice thick card. So even though there's this indent here, it won't really matter because it'll keep it. So we'll just have to cut the edges off this, and then I'll have to cover the tops and the bottoms with something else just because those don't really apply to a young lady. Okay, where did my scissors go, you guys? Oy, oy, oy. Probably some of you are scared. Oh, I bet you, I think I feel them. I think I feel them. Wait, yep, I got them. Okay, haha, got it. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll fussy cut this. I actually really like to fussy cut. I find it very therapeutic and meditative. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. So I have a scan and cut for, you know, cutting out stamped images and stuff, but I actually like really almost would prefer to sit in bed with a stack of images to cut out and scissors and just cut them out while I'm like watching TV. But I know it's not the best use of my time, but I really like doing it. So yeah, so that's really cute. Oh yeah, I like that a lot. It looks like it's meant to be framed like that, you know? So we'll go ahead and put this one on there. Alrighty. Okay. So cute. And I know her mom would like that little saying as well. We can definitely put other things around this too to embellish it, so it doesn't have to stay like that if we feel like it's too plain once we look at it. All right, and then just need to separate that a little bit. We got a little bit of extra glue there, so we're just gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, all right, and then let's see. Let me just cut this off for Rapunzel here. Let me see if I can cut off just the edges of this bit. Okay. pretty much just sit it right in there, and we just line it up. And we'll just want to keep the glue from this edge. So I'll put the glue on the envelope instead of putting it on the card, because we don't want to glue over where the opening is and cause there to be glue in the wrong spot. So let's see here. I got this card from a like little baby book kit for Disney. I got it at the thrift store. And it was a really cute little kit, and it had a whole bunch of these cards in there, and it was like these different milestones of like, I made my first friend, I tied my shoes, I took my first step, like those kinds of things. I had a whole bunch of different Disney characters on it. So I pulled this one out because I knew that she really liked Rapunzel, and then I kept some of them, and then I've sold some of them as well, just because I didn't need all of them. And I thought other people who are making Disney journals could use them for things like that. So let's see what else we got here. Let me see. Let me see here. Maybe we could do like a little montage of these. Let's see here. Not a montage, but a little bit of a collage, I guess, maybe. Let's see. Because if you look at the back of these, so these are the smaller cards. So if you look at the back of this one, it has this really cool pink chevron moment. We could put that up there, and then we could put this one down here. Don't think that's gonna look great. I think it needs to be a full image in one spot. Ooh, maybe there's something in the Taylor book. Let's see. I hope you guys don't mind going through this with me. I didn't have a huge plan. I mean, I had a plan today, but I didn't have like a big plan. So I wanted to, you know, I wanted to go through some of it with a little bit of a guess of what what I was going to work on, and not necessarily just, I wanted a plan, but I didn't want like a huge plan, you know? All right, let's see here. Let's see if this one will fit. I kind of like this image of her directing. That's kind of fun. All right, so there's the bottom and the top. Alrighty. Remember, it is for a 16-year-old girl, so yeah, we're gonna include her favorite things in it. All right, and then or maybe we should put that picture there. I don't know, I like the one for directing better, so we'll do that one. Oof. Okay. But I'll keep that other one just in case it comes up for something else. Alrighty, there we go. I just cut a little bit more off the top here. And again, we're gonna go ahead and, you know, we'll embellish this with a few things. I'll probably put some washi on here somewhere. Like, we'll have a few things here that we can kind of cover up stuff with. So, you know, we have like this, and then this flips out, and then we have this one, and then there's this pocket in there. We can put something, which is fun. I should do something on the undersides of these. These might just end up being stickers and stuff though. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. This one I probably won't put anything in the pocket because it's, you know, it goes up, but this one would make sense to put something in here. In fact, I could put this in here and I'll just cut the edges off here and put it onto something so that it has some heft to it, so we can stick it in this little pocket, and it'll be like a little journaling card. Oops, shoot, got a little bit of glue down there. Nuts. Oh, nuts. Okay, there we go. Actually, maybe we'll just use that to cover up that little blemish. Maybe. And then I'll figure something else out to stick in there for a... Okay, and then we'll do this. There we go. All right, we'll do that to cover up that little blemish right there. Oh, actually, hang on. Well, yeah, that's okay. All right, go ahead and do that. Okay. Oops, sorry, you guys. You know what? I'm realizing you may not be able to see me. All right, there we go. Basically, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of tear this paper to kind of fill in this little spot here where we don't have anything really happening. Let me see. It needs to be bigger than that. All right, hold on. All right, let's do it this way. All right, so... And we're definitely going to ink the edge of this before we glue it down. Give it a little extra dimension. Okay, so let's ink the edge of this. Alrighty. I'll ink up the whole edge, even though I'm not going to need the whole thing because it's a little too tall for what we're doing. But again, it gives it a little extra something, something. So it's going to come off right about there. Okay. And let's put a little, actually, you know what? I'm going to glue. I'm going to use glitter art on this one. Oops. Didn't put a stopper in it, so it got plugged up. All right. Oops. Got a little bit too much on there, so we're going to smooth it with our finger. There we go. Okay. Okay. There we go. Alrighty. And then we just want it to come over a little bit more. Okay. Eeh. There we go. Okay. There we go. Alrighty. Now we cut off a little bit of that, and I'll still work on putting something in there. But for right now, I'll just do it like this, and let me put a little bit of dab on the corner because I don't think we got glue down here yet. There we go. Okay. All right. Oops. All right. There we go. Okay, cool. All right. And then we got this flip and that flip and flips and more flips. Cool. All right. So we got a couple different flip outs and pockets and all kinds of things we're going to put in there. We're going to do more embellishing on these when we get to the point where we're ready to actually put them in the book. But you can see now, if we were to stick one of these in the book here, and it was sewed to the signature here in the center, and then we closed it, you can still see it's in there, and you can see that it's not super small, but like I said, it's going to get kicked out, you know, pushed out a little bit just because of the way that the signatures work. So it's definitely going to, you know, work itself into the right dimensions, basically, I guess is what I should say. So the other thing we have to do is do something to cover up some of this stuff up here with Punzi. So what we might end up doing is something like this, and I'll just center it. Let's see, we can center that over her head. Cut it here. Okay, let's see how that works. Alrighty, and then we'll cut it here. Okay. Alrighty, and that's there. Let me ink the edge of this as well. These are the things you have to be really careful you ink on before you put them down because you can't ink it once it's down because of the way that it's, you know, lying on something else. So this is the stuff that gets real tricky about inking ahead of time. Sometimes, you know, when you're just doing edges and stuff and it's you know, it's a tag or whatever, it's not a big deal because the tag, all the edges of the tag are typically exposed. But when you're working on something like this, the edges of something will get covered up, or will be sharing, you know, space with something else, and so you won't be able to get to them. And so it kind of creates its own little, like, you know, problems. So let's see here. Here, you know what we'll do? It says Taylor's Errors Tour. She did go to the Errors Tour. This young lady I'm making this for. So maybe we'll just put this down here as a way to kind of signify. Alrighty. There we go. So now we can see everything we did there. So we go like that. And then we'll flip it here and we'll flip it there and it'll be closed. And then I will work on the journaling cards to put into these pockets as well. So that was just an example of some pockets I wanted to make for this book. Obviously, you know, we're going to make the signatures, I think are going to probably be between 10 to 15 pages each. I'm going to try to do 3 signatures. So basically I made a page of pockets or inserts for each signature. That was kind of my goal. So that each signature had its own kind of special page. I will probably still do some more flip outs even once we get to the point where we're assembling signatures. Flip outs themselves are actually easier, I think, to do in the process of making than pockets, which is why I wanted to do the pockets first. I think just makes it easier to do a pocket and it looks more intrinsic to the piece if you do it before you sew it all together, in my opinion. So, you know, but there are other pockets we can do. We can do side pockets. We can do like corner pockets. Like there's all kinds of stuff we can do for that too. And we'll probably also do like some insert pockets as well. So in case you've never seen it, I do a pocket, a five pocket insert, and you basically do it like this. So you have to take a rectangular piece of paper and you fold it so that your 2 corners here are like mountains. It looks like a mountain. You fold it kind of like long ways. And then basically what you do is you flip over one side, the side on the right first, and crease that. And then you flip over the side to the left like that. And then, and you can either trim off this little edge here, or you can glue it down. But then you have 5 pockets. So you have 1 pocket, 2 pocket, 3 pocket, 4 pocket. And then if you do it on the back so that you just do the gluing around the edges, you have a 5th pocket in the back. So I got this idea from, I think it's from Natasha at Treasure Books. So definitely subscribe to her channel. She's awesome. And so the glue basically goes in 2 spots. It goes along the bottom of this pocket right here, this page. So you can glue that down. Again, you could also use tape if you didn't want there to be any like seepage of the liquid adhesive. And then you put it along this edge, right down here. So just along the edge, the bottom edges here. And then flip that way, and you're all done. And so these pockets are a lot of fun, especially if you have any inserts that you want to do, big inserts, little inserts, that kind of stuff. And the cool thing is that these pretty much work perfectly on a, you know, 5.5 by 11 piece of paper. So you can actually just glue them onto a page. So again, like this is a great way to incorporate a pocket without having to do the pocket ahead of time or worry about it, you know, being like, especially if you're flipping through the book and you're like, oh, we need something right here, you know, and then it's an easy way to kind of incorporate something. So it makes it really fun. So anyway, so we got lots of things we're going to work on, lots of things to work on moving forward, but I wanted to make sure I got this video up since I promised you guys I would. And I am working really hard and diligently on getting things together. So I appreciate all of your support and thanks for coming back to the channel. Please share with your friends if you know anybody who's into junk journaling or paper crafting. I would love to see more folks visit at you know, anytime. I'll probably have another haul video up fairly soon as well. I did go to an antique store that was closing, and so I did get some cool things there. And I hope to see you guys really soon. The next video will be assembling signatures. That's probably my goal in the next video, and that will take a little bit of time, so I'm not going to promise when it's going to be up, but I promise it will be up relatively soon. So thank you guys so much and have a great night.